Hello everybody, this is a 4-speed transmission that is made completely out of Legos. I have not seen any other versions of this on YouTube, so this should be the first one ever made. So yeah, first off, let's just go over how it works. So I have it connected up to a battery box and a motor right here, and so yeah, let's just go over how it works. So you turn the motor on, and right now it's in neutral. The power is just going in the input shaft, and it's not being connected to any of the other gears. So if I move this over, it shifts it into first gear, so the power is going up through these gears and up through this gear ratio right here. And it is turning slower than the input shaft. If I move it over, that puts it in second gear, and the power is going up this way through the input shaft, and then through the output shaft again. And now to shift it into third gear and move this to the middle, and then move that one this way. Now the power is going through here, out the output shaft, and it is going through direct drive, meaning that this shaft is turning at the same speed as this one. Now if I move this over to the side, that puts it into fourth gear, and the power is going through the input shaft and up this way, and it is in overdrive now, which means that this shaft is turning faster than this shaft. The output is turning slower. No, the output is turning faster than the input. So now let's go over how to build. Alright, so the first thing you need to know about building this is the different assemblies or different subcomponents of this. So the first thing is the input shaft case. Next thing is the two outer lower gears. These are the gears that power the input shaft. These are the outer gears for those. And, okay, so here are the inner gears, which go on the inside of the input shaft case. Now we have the supports for the output shaft, which help keep it stable and keep the gears meshing, because these are only plastic, so the gears don't always like to stay together very well. And this is the output shaft assembly. So these are, you could call these the upper gears, because these are what the transmission actually turns. And here we have what I call the power supply assembly, which is basically just a motor to turn it, so you don't have to turn it by hand. Although that is optional, though, in case you just want to turn it by hand. And the only other thing you'll need is these two bushings, because those are part of assembling it, and if you put them on, it won't assemble quite right. So yeah, let's get to building it. Alright, here are the parts for the input shaft case. So to assemble it, what you do first is you take one of these rectangular pieces, and you take a pin and put it in there, take the other pin and put it in here, like this. Then you take another one of these rectangular pieces, and you simply stick it together like this. Next, you take one of these short shafts, and then you stick it in this hole in the middle. Now you take one of these gears that doesn't have the cross thing in the middle, and you put it in, you put the shaft around it, and it should just slide freely. You just kind of rest that in there. Then you take one of these pieces and you put your red piece around it, like that. Then you put it up against the back of that gear, and you push the shaft in so it stays, like that. Now, you take your long shaft and you get a bushing, and then what I like to do is stick it in the middle hole of this one through here like that, and then take the bushing and carefully bring it around and put the shaft through the bushing like that. Then you take another gear like this and you put it so that the end with these little tiny teeth on there, I don't know if you can see, but like right on this end should be facing away from the red piece, and same for the other side. That one should be facing away from the red piece too. So you put that in there like so. Get that in there. And then you push that through until it goes into the piece that the red piece is inside. And it's also important to make sure that the bushings aren't pressing up against the gears too hard, and you should just be able to rotate the shafts freely and just have them spin. And you should check that after you build each one. Now you take another bushing and you put it up onto this shaft in the middle. Just put that on like so, and then pull it back just a little bit so that there's not too much friction on the outer case. Alright, again, you take this piece and you put it in the inside the red piece, just like that, and then just put that aside for now. And then we'll take one of these gray gears and put it on like that, and so that the inside with the hole is facing away from that bushing. Now you take the red piece that you just put together and you try to shove it onto this black shaft, like so. It can be a little bit tricky sometimes. I think we got it now. Okay. So now you take this gray gear and you put it on again, so that this inner part here is facing towards the red part, or just so that this part here with all these little tiny teeth is facing away. Then you take your other shaft and you put it through and make it so that it's tight. And then you try to loosen up these bushings just enough so that you can rotate it freely like that. That's very important that it does that, otherwise the transmission won't run quite so smoothly. Now the next step is to take these blue pieces and you put one in every corner of each rectangular piece, like this. A few more. Okay, like that. Now you take these pieces and you put them on each one of each peg. So you do it like this. Like that. Now take your remaining rectangular pieces and you put them on here like this. And I apologize for if there's any noise upstairs. It's just my family. Okay, so you get it like this. Now just always make sure that it rotates, because that's pretty important. Now what you could do is take this bushing and put it on the end like that, and always whenever you put a bushing on, what I'd like to do is just make sure it rotates really well. It should just spin even after you take your hand off of it. That's really important. Now you take these gears and these pieces, and it has to be this color piece because the blue ones are actually a little bit different in that these ones are actually designed to rotate when they're like say you put this in one of the holes, it's actually designed to rotate a gear or something. The other ones are simply meant to connect these holes with the cross ones. So what you do with these is you put them in this middle hole here so that these two gears mesh. And you do the same thing with the other one. Put this on the other side, like so. And that just about does it for this assembly. Alright, this is the parts for the inner lower gear assembly. So, yeah, every part you see here is what you need. So, here's how to build it. So the first thing you need to do is take these two pieces, and again they must be this color, otherwise they won't work as well. And you just attach one of those to each gear, like that. Then you take these T-shaped pieces and you put them in the piece, just like this. Put them in the middle slot, the middle bottom one, like that. And then you take one of these shafts and you put the bushing on, like so. And you put that through the top hole, and then you put another one of these gears on, like this. Make sure they mesh too. And then it's also important just to move this away from the piece just a little tiny bit so that it will still rotate. I can't emphasize enough just how important that is, because it's a difference from a smooth running transmission to a not so smooth running one, and you want yours to run very smooth. So then you just put this gear on here, like so. If that'll go on there, and always just make sure that it can rotate freely, effortlessly. Make sure it rotates very effortlessly. Now you put this bushing on the other shaft, stick it through that hole there. Now you put the other gear on there, make sure they mesh, and just take some of the pressure off that shaft so it can rotate freely. And then you put this gear on. Now, you take one of these pins and you put it in each hole that's in the side, like that. And then you do the same thing for the other one. Now, as a final step, just make sure that these can rotate freely. This one can't really, so just move the bushing just a little bit. And then they should be able to do it. Try this one. There we go. Okay, so those both work pretty well. Okay, right here we have the next assembly, and this one is for supporting the output shaft. So, here's how we make it. First, we take one of these pieces and one of these pieces, and we put them together at a 90-degree angle, like this. Now we take a red piece, on these 2 centimeter long axles, and we put them together like that, just so that they stay together. Now we do that same thing with the other one. Like so. And so we have 2 of these pieces now. Now we take 2 of these pins and we put them into 2 of these holes here. It actually doesn't matter which two, as long as they're on the inside of the 90-degree bend, like that. And we do the same thing for the other one. And it actually doesn't matter which one of these pieces you do that to, but I always like to keep it consistent. You could do it for this one on that one, and do it for the other one on the other one, but it really just doesn't matter. But I'm doing it the same one because I like it that way. Anyway, now what we do is we take this blue pin and we put it into the two top holes, like that. And we do the same thing for the other one as well. Just like that. Now, we take these pieces that have two holes in them, and we put them all the way down to the bottom of these. Just like that. Now what we do is we take one of these bars that's 5 holes in them, and we put this on so that there's the first peg in here is 1 hole away from the end. And then you do the same thing for the other one, like that, just like that. And actually, what we do is we actually do it opposite on this one, so that they're both symmetrical, like that. Made a little bit of a mistake there. Anyway, now what we do is we take 2 of these pins and we put them so that there's one on either side of this piece. Do the same thing for the other one. And that does it for the supporting assembly for the output shaft. Alright, now we are about to make the output shaft assembly. So, first what we do is we take one of these pieces and one of these pieces right here, and we put them together using one of these, and so that they are flat. They're just at a flat angle, like this. And then we do that with another one of these, just like this, just like that. Alright, now, so we have 2 of those. Now, what we do is we take 2 of these and we put them on here, like this. And then we take the other 2 and we put them on the other 2 holes, just like that. And now we take, oops, not that part, we take these 2 pieces, the bars with the 2 holes in them, and we put them on these pins, like that. And then you do the same thing for the other one, just like that. Now you take 2 of these, put them together like this. Now you take a red piece and you just put it through so it holds it together, and you put another one on the other side, just like that. Then you put it on here just so the red ones are facing down, and you put it on there just like that. Now you do that with another one. Just make another one of those pieces. And you put it on there, just like you did for the other one. So now you have 2 pieces that look just like this. Now what you do is you take these 2 pieces, oopsie, and you attach them on like that. and you attach the other side like that, and you put the other one on the other side, just like that. So now you have a piece that looks like this. Now you take this piece and these two shafts, and you put this piece so it's in the middle between each hole on each side, and you put the shaft through the hole so it attaches on to that piece. Then you do the same thing with the other shaft. Now you just make sure it rotates freely so there's no tension on there. Then you take a bushing, and they don't have to be red. I just am doing that for cosmetic reasons because I like how they look. Okay. So you put the bushing on. Again, make sure that you just pull it back a little tiny bit so that there's no tension on the shaft. Now you put the other one on, like so. Make sure it can rotate freely. Smooth that out a little bit. Okay. Now, what you do is you take this gear and you put it on the shaft all the way to the middle. And you take the other gear, you put that one on all the way to the middle. Make sure it can rotate freely, just like that. Now you take this gear and you put this on the other side, just like that. And you take the other gear and put that one on. Again, make sure it can rotate nice and freely. And you put another bushing on, and just bring that up to the middle. You don't need to force it, just enough so it just touches the gears. And then when you're done, you should be able to just rotate it freely like that. And that is the output shaft. Okay, this is the assembly for the outer lower gears. So here's how we make it. First we take one of these shafts and a bushing, put it together like that. Then you do the same thing for the other one. Just put them together like that. Now we take one of these T-shaped pieces and two of these pins, and then we put the pins on the bottom like this, just like that. And then you do the same thing for the other one. Put those pins on like that. Then you take the other two pins and you put one on here like this and one on the other one like this. Now you take one of these pieces and you put this on just like that, and you take this shaft with the bushing on the end and you put it on here like that. And you do the same thing for the other one. Let's see. Put it on there like that. Now you take one of these medium-sized gears and you push it in here like this. Then you take the smaller gear and put it on like that. And again, just loosen up the bearing or the bushing just a little bit, and then you just try to rotate it freely. If you can't do it, pull it out a little bit more, and it should rotate freely. You can also just wiggle it back and forth just a little bit. Now you take the other piece and you put the gear in there, the medium-sized gear, and then you take the bigger gear and you put that on just like that. Now you pull out on that bushing just a little bit and you make sure you can spin it. They will spin better if they have bigger gears on it due to more centrifugal force. If I put that gear in here, it would spin just as well. Now, this is optional, but you can take the blue pin and put it in this hole here. This is if you're going to have the motor, which I am, so I will be putting the blue pin in there. And that is the outer lower gear assembly. Alright, now this is the power supply assembly. This is optional because you don't really need to have a motor hooked up to it, but here's how you make it. All you need is one of these, and then you put one pin in each end, and you do that for the other one. Okay, now you put these pieces in either side of the motor, just like this. Now you take a battery box, make sure you put some fresh batteries in there, AA's, and then you just simply connect the motor up to that, and then you can run it. And that is the power supply assembly. Okay, now once you're done making all those different parts, you get them all together, and I will show you how to put them together to make your functioning transmission. First, you need your input shaft housing. Then you need your lower inner gear assemblies. And you need your outer inner gear assemblies. You need your input shafts, your output shaft supporting assemblies. You need your output shaft assembly, and if you want, you need your power supply assembly. And also don't forget these two bushings that you need. So what you do is you take your input shaft assembly, and then you take your two lower inner gears, and you make sure that you have the one with the black gear facing this black shaft here, the longer shaft. Now you put it in, attach it so that it's in here like that, and make sure the gears mesh and that this peg here is in all the way. Make sure that all the gears look like this. Make sure that this black gear is on the same side as this longer shaft, not this shaft. And then you get the other one, and you put this in there. Make sure it lines up with these two holes, these two pegs. Put this in. Make sure all the gears mesh. Make sure everything is on correctly, so it looks like this. Now you take your output shaft stabilizers, and you put them on just like this in these two holes. Line up the two pegs with those, put it on like that, and you do the same thing on the other side, just like that. Make sure that these two pegs line up with the middle. Now you take your output shaft and you put it on so that this black gear, or this yellow gear lines up with this black gear, and this gray gear lines up with this gray gear. So you put this on, making sure these two holes line up with these two pegs, and same with these two. And you just carefully, gently push it on. This actually might take a little bit of force, but it helps if you just kind of push on one side at a time until you get it on, just like this. Make sure everything lines up. Then you take your two outer lower gear assemblies and you put it so that the output shaft goes in the second from the top hole, and then you snap it in. Make sure all the gears line up like that. And now you do the same thing on the other side. This actually might be a little harder because this gear will have problems clearing with that gear. So just try. I like to put it in from an angle like that, and then kind of just rock it down. You might have to bend it just a little bit. Then you push it on. Just push through. So it'll be a little bit tricky. You might even have to take that yellow gear off, and then you put it through like that. Make that shaft go into that gear like that. Now you take your two bushings and you put them on each end of the output shaft, and don't push them too tightly, so otherwise it won't be so smooth. Now you're just about done. Actually, you are done if you're not going to use the power supply, but I recommend using it. So to put the power supply on, you take each end off. It just makes it a little bit easier. And you put it in so that this peg aligns up with this hole, and this lines up with the orange hole. And you just carefully put it on, like so. Then you put each shaft, or not each shaft, each bar on to the transmission assembly, and then you put it together like this. Now you have your fully functional 4-speed transmission. Now you can just test it out by turning the motor on. If it does that, it means that you have a little bit too much tension on each one. So if you have too much friction. I think my problem is I have too much friction. I might have pushed too hard when I put the motor on. So it's a pretty simple thing. Just kind of pull it apart a little bit. Try it again. There. Now, shift it into first gear. Shift it into second gear. Shift it into third gear. And shift it into fourth gear. And there you have it. And shift it into neutral. And so there you have it. Your 4-speed transmission.